Rachel Weiss of the Jewish Reconstructionist Congregation. This week, all over the world, Jews in synagogues will read from the Torah, from the book of Leviticus, one of the most holy lines in all of our scriptures. Ve'ahavta l're'echa kamocha, you shall love your fellow human being as you love yourself. That is the charge that we celebrate and that pushes us forward as we say we are commanded and we are obligated to love one another. We gather today realizing that we can feel many feelings, sometimes opposite, all at once. In the same way it can be sunny and snowing at the same time. We can be relieved at the accountability that we saw yesterday, at the arrest and the conviction on all counts of the person who murdered George Floyd, and we can be full of anger and grief and outrage that he was killed in the first place. We can be moved to celebrate with our community because our community stands strong together, and we can be fearful for our neighbors who live in so many different ways that are so disparate. We can be here together as people who are white, people who are black, people who are brown, and recognize that the reality of our experiences walking down the street, our interactions with police, with government, with school systems, with entire communities are radically different. And while for those of us, most of us, who have white skin, our lives are not at risk when we walk out the door. And we recognize the reality of the systemic inequity and racism in our communities that puts those who have black and brown skin at risk, and there have been too many, like George Floyd, who have been killed, too many who have gone with no accountability and no justice. In Judaism, we have a blessing and a prayer that says, we bless the source of life who has given us life and sustained us and allowed us to reach this moment. We call that prayer Shehachianu, to say we have made it to this day. And we realize that as we are standing here, so many people, because of unfathomable and very real systemic racism and racist violence, they have not been granted life as long as we have. And for that, we are in mourning and in grief and in outrage. But we bless the source of life who gathers us here today in the form of holy community and leadership that gives us this moment to say we are alive now and we must do everything we can so that every member of our community can stay that way. We bless the one who has given us hope and given us nourishment in the form of connectivity, in the form of inspiration, in the form of taking part in showing up in these kinds of places, these kinds of vigils, so that we may all bring our hearts together. And we are grateful to be able to reach this moment in time where accountability leads on the very long arc, but in those very first steps that will bend toward justice. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehachianu v'kiyamanu v'hiryanu lazman hazeh. We bless the source who has given us life, and we take that commandment to protect one another's lives with all of our hearts as we love our neighbors as ourselves, who has sustained us and nourished us. May we continue to sustain and nourish every single member of our communities, and who have allowed us to reach this moment. May we all go forth together. Amen.
Amen. Amen.